Hey everybody, I am going to be sharing my solds from my online stores like eBay and Poshmark and Etsy and Ruby Lane for the week of March 26th through April 1st. And as I was preparing to make this video, I was expecting my sales to be a little bit worse than they are. It feels like it's just been really quiet. But I'm thinking maybe it's this week I am getting the feeling about because it has been really slow. Lots of different reasons, lots of different factors that can go into that besides the economy. It's tax season. Just historically over the years, end of March, beginning of April is usually a pretty rough time for us in our online shops. So we're just kind of hanging in there, doing what we can do. I'm starting with Poshmark this time because Poshmark did deliver this week. They did really well, and I am experimenting with something to help with my Poshmark sales, and I think I'm seeing some good results. So that's something I'm going to share with you in the future if it continues to have the results that I wanted. And anyway, let's just start off with this really fun hat that I found. I found this at our little bins shop, kind of like the Goodwill clearance center, the Goodwill outlet, but it's just a local thrift store, and they have a little tiny shop where they sell things in big bins, and we pay by the bag, not by the pound. So everything ends up being very inexpensive. So this was new with tags, but it was vintage. It was probably 80s, made in Taiwan, and it just had this awesome look to it. You can see some of the other pictures. It just had really fun graphics on it and everything like that. So it was called the Olympic, had nothing to do with the Olympics, but just kind of fun. So we took an offer for $25 on that one. Let's see if my computer will respond. Okay, next one. These were a pair of Orvis pants. These were listed for a little while. They're like a twill. They have some leather trim. Orvis has a series or a line called Zambezi, and very safari kind of looking thing. So we had a jacket and then also these pants I had picked up at some point. Not a whole lot of interest in them. I don't think I would pick them up again, but they sold for, we finally just took an offer on Poshmark for $20. Stormy Cromer. Now this is an interesting brand. Here, I'll click on the label. I hadn't heard of it before, but I came across a couple shirts. One was like a denim or a chambray shirt that was back in the fall, I think. We picked it up on our road trip, and I was so surprised at comps. I almost didn't even look it up because it didn't look like much of anything, but I think it was at some point, or still is, sold at REI. And I was just very surprised at the sell-through and the comps on that brand, Stormy Cromer. So the denim chambray one sold super fast. This one I had picked up at another time, and my husband was listing it, and he found a hole like in the sleeve or something like that, but we decided to list it anyway, and we sold it for $25. Next one, this one's been listed forever. This is such an old listing. I wouldn't recommend picking up Columbia Omni Shade. I think this was either my husband's shirt, probably not. He's more of a medium, not a large, and so I don't know when or where we picked that up. It might have just been something we found inexpensively and just thought the hiking shirts would do better than they do, and we were just glad we finally got an offer for $15, so we took that. These Merrells, my husband and I were both just talking about, we don't remember getting these, but it was me. My husband said it wasn't him, which makes sense because he does most of his sourcing at those bins. So I must have just picked these up at Goodwill. They were in really good condition, so that's probably why I went ahead and grabbed them. Not that Merrells aren't good to sell. I don't usually find Merrells in great shape. And so I must have noticed them because the condition was really good, and we sold these for $33. Now this pair of running shoes, sneakers, my husband found recently. We had kind of a thrifting day as a family and had gone out of town, but I think we did stop at one of our local thrifts, or maybe that was a different day. We were together. Anyway, that's all I remember is that we were together. And so we stopped at Goodwill, and he found these running shoes, paid about $10 for them, and they sold for $65. I think he had to do a little bit of cleaning on them, but overall the condition was pretty good. These were 2 Peter Millar polo shirts. We just decided to lot them together. They were the same size, you know, just a different colorway, same style, and we took a $33 offer for those 2. And another pair of Peter Millar, just a pair of pants. You know, nothing super special about them. They sold for $20 with an offer we accepted. And then Nike SB can be good. Sometimes it depends on the piece. I had a couple Nike SB. SB is skateboarding. And I've had a few pieces, like clothing pieces, that have sold really quickly, and I've had other ones that just sit for a really long time. So it's kind of hit or miss. These were listed for a little while, but we got a $20 offer, and we were totally fine with that. Knox Rose, I heard a lot about picking up Knox Rose. It's just sold at Target, but Kaylee Elaine on her YouTube channel talks about selling Knox Rose, especially in larger sizes, and definitely these kind of flowy romantic style pieces. And so I had picked up a few just as an experiment. I took a $15 offer on this one. Now Arc'teryx, you probably know, is definitely a Bolo brand. It was interesting finding this polo shirt, and I had it listed for a while, and I was like, man, there's like no interest. I mean, it was earlier in the season, still winter, I think, when I listed it. So I went back to my listing, and I was like, looking at the pictures, and the pictures weren't the greatest. These aren't my pictures. But I just felt like there was like a white spot in my pictures, and I just couldn't. I think my ring light was just hitting the fabric is so kind of strange. It was hitting the fabric weird and everything. So we pulled it. We like washed it to see if that was something that was definitely in the fabric for sure. And anyway, my husband redid the photos, and we kind of redid the listing, and cross-posted it again to Poshmark and took a $28 offer. These I picked up, they didn't cost me very much. It was like a couple dollars. I got them on a half off day, and they were a small size. They were US 5, and they actually still fit me. I'm more like a 6.5 or 7, so I think, it could fit a variety of sizes depending on how you want to wear them. But, obviously Birkenstock, they get marks in the footbed pretty quickly. I was totally fine when I got a $12 offer just to move them on. I knew the smaller size was going to be a little bit trickier of a sale. And then this was a funny story, so I'll try to pop up a picture as I talk about this, but the brand is Cool, and we had a lot of sales of Cool clothing, KUHL, this week, and I know other resellers are finding it like slowing down a little bit, but I think it just depends, like seasonality, especially the types of items we sold would definitely fit into the spring a lot better. But we went to go ship these, and I'm looking at the picture, and my husband's looking for the shorts in our bins, and he pulls out this like light brown or medium brown pair of shorts, and I'm like, no, they're dark brown, and I show him the picture. And then we compared it, and we compared like the tag, like this tag and everything, and it was the same pair of shorts. And it was just so weird because when he took these pictures, and I don't even know why he didn't notice it, but the pictures just came out such a dark brown. And I don't know why he didn't notice the difference, as he was listing it. And it must have something in the lighting in the room that he was using. He was using sunlight, into the room. So I had to message the buyer and I said, I just wanted to let you know, like, the color is different. And so he was like, well, I already have a pair of like lighter ones, He's like, so I'm not sure if I'm going to still want them. So I took a picture outside, and even that wasn't like wasn't getting the color accurately. Like, they were the hardest shorts to get the right color accurately. And so they weren't like tan khaki, they were more maybe taupe or something like that. So fortunately, so he said, I said, I'll be willing to take them back if you don't like the color, but I'm having a hard time. He was super nice. And so he said, okay, no problem. And so he got the shorts, and he said that they were a different enough color than the ones he had, that he would end up keeping them. So it all worked out great, but just such a strange thing with, sometimes photography is like the hardest part of reselling. Okay, Vineyard Vines. This was a shirt I pulled out of my profit pile, I like to call it, and I was looking for things that were more spring related, and it sold really quickly. So I took a $24 offer. I think I only had it listed for like $30, and but it retails at like $100, which is crazy. But anyway, so not, I don't pick up all Vineyard Vines, but this one actually sold really well and really fast. And then it's just a $13 sale. I think I talked about some of the baseball caps I've done recently that were women's, or, I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be women's, but they were Western brands, and they didn't sell for a lot of money, but they actually sold like super quickly. So this was another one, just a baby blue color, Ariat, and sold for $13. Okay, here's my like not recommended thing to do if you're a reseller. This necklace ended up selling for $6. Sometimes my prices get dropped on Poshmark for different things that they're doing, and I don't always raise my prices back up. And so I have it, software that I use sends out an automatic offer when a person likes it, and they got this $6 offer and they took it. Now, considering that they're going to have to pay, the buyer had to pay $7 or $8 shipping. Jewelry is kind of a hard sale on Posh, and for me, unless I can get a higher price for it. So I really didn't monitor this very well, and I probably would have kept the price a little bit higher, but who knows, I might have still been sitting on it. And it was listed a very long time, so I just went ahead. The $6 sale went through, and like I made nothing on it. So if you're on Posh, just kind of keep an eye on your pricing, especially if you run any of their like discounts for closet clear out or anything like that. This is just a Starbucks tumbler, and definitely not a super sought after one. Kind of like I talked about in the coffee mug video, just that not all Starbucks is crazy sought after. What's nice about this, we paid $1. This was found on our family thrifting day recently, and we picked it up for $1, and it did sell within a few days on Poshmark for $15. I did talk about this type of mug in our that last More Mugs to Bolo to sell on eBay. And this is the Anthropology Homegrown Coffee Mug. Now, I had shown this mug as a sale that I had in the past at $28, and I said that it sells anywhere, 20, 28. Depends on the monogram, depends on the letter and how sought after the letter is and everything. So I usually do pick up these homegrown mugs and some of the other initial mugs from Anthropologie as well. And let me show you real quick the mark. This is kind of something I should have showed on that video. Is this, this is the Anthropologie mark, and it's just a bird. So that's how you know it's an Anthropologie. It doesn't say Anthropologie anywhere on it. Little bonus tip. Okay, here's another one of the cool shirts, KUHL, that I sold. This sold for $39. Nice looking plaid flannel. And then a short sleeve. I found this not that long ago, and it sold very quickly for $40. It was a nice performance type material and perfect for the season that we're going into. So $40 was a nice sale for that one. And this pair of Nike sneakers sold for $40. Definitely very eye-catching in the purple. We helped friends of ours with a garage sale in their clean out, and they just had us. We just took everything that was left over from the yard sale because they're moving, and we sold these from their yard sale leftovers. Gymshark, not necessarily a brand I recommend. I think it's just one of those things, like you hear a name or a brand from other resellers on YouTube for so long, and like you never find it. And then when you finally find it, it's not really a bolo anymore, but you can't resist picking it up anyway. So this was just a men's long sleeve t-shirt that said Gymshark, and it took a month or a couple months or so, but I took a $14 offer just to move it. And lastly, on Posh, we went to an estate sale on that day that we went to on the family thrifting trip, and we picked this up. It wasn't priced. My husband was kind of getting some other things electronics wise, and we saw this, and it ended up being $20 when we were checking out estate sale prices, and so I think we ended up just basically doubling our money on this one. But it had quite a bit of interest and surprisingly sold on Poshmark, not on eBay. Okay, so that was a good week on Poshmark, and I just want to say, there's lots of different ways. We cross-post our eBay listings to Poshmark. That's most of the cross-posting we do, and it's definitely worth it to us. Now, there's lots of different software that can help you do that. You could also do it manually, but we just find that that VENDOO works really well for us. I don't always cross-post at the exact moment that I'm listing something on eBay, and then also I cross-post all my husband's listings. So I might sit down a day later after he's listed a bunch and just move everything over to Poshmark, and I don't have his photos and all that stuff, so VENDOO will just pull all the photos and information from the listing, and you just have to do a little tweaking and let it go live. So it really saves us a lot of time. I do have a link below in the description, and I think you'll be able to try it out and get 25% off your first month if you use my link. So just something to think about. Also, in the description below, I don't know if I've ever said this, but I do have a link down below for my link tree, and it gives links to all the different sites that I sell on if you ever want to look at what I'm listing or what I'm selling or what has sold. So, okay, so here's another one. We're on eBay now. Another one of these, Western themed baseball caps that sold really quickly. Again, not for very much. This only sold for $10. I took an offer, but I had just kind of picked these hats up, Ariat and Justin and ones like that, just kind of based on the fact that those, brands sell pretty well. But, the baseball caps just weren't necessarily selling very high. But they did go quickly, so this sold for $10. And then here's another Knox Rose that I was saying that I got, got the kind of the tip from Kaylee Elaine that they'll sell fairly quickly. And the pieces I've picked up definitely have. So this just sold for 20. So it's not big money, but it's consistent. And like I said, we're just kind of happy with what we're getting right now. Okay, so that sold for 20. Fjall Raven. I don't know if I'm saying that right. If you do the Fjall Raven, if you know, you can go ahead and leave me a comment below. I've always said Fall Raven, but that's just probably me being lazy. So I did a poll on YouTube. If you saw it and voted in it, thank you very much. And I think this was one of the choices I put in it as far as which shirt sold for the highest. But this was not the highest sale I had. This shirt sold for $30. It's definitely a very good brand to keep an eye out for resale. I'm always super excited when I find it. And that sold for $30. This was just a quick sale that we took, an offer for $20, and just Nike, not our favorite brand to sell, but I think this came from the bins most likely. And it had a personalized logo thing on there that was affecting the sale, and so $20 was fine with us. Here is another shirt I put in the poll, in the little quiz. It was a Lululemon polo shirt. This was a really nice pickup because I think the thrift store missed it, and I think the other reseller who was right before me on the rack didn't see it either, unless he just wasn't interested. But it just has the small little Lulu mark, down at the bottom on the hem. It's not marked up at the top. And the thrift store only had it for $5, which was crazy. And then it was half off day, so I only paid $2.50. And this was in the poll, but this was not the highest sale of those three. This sold for $40, which was still a nice sale, $2.50 into $40. Okay, I have a bit of a story on this one. I'll try to tell it quickly. These shoes, Harry's of London, I found them at Goodwill. I looked up the brand. They looked like they were selling pretty well, or at least, were an expensive shoe. These were a larger size. They're a size 14, and they're only marked in European sizing. So that's the little label in there. So I looked at a couple different charts and came up with size 14. We sent them out, and the buyer asked to return them. He says that size 47 is actually a size 13. And, so he used item not as described, or like INAD, as his reason for return, which of course means that I have to pay for him to send them back. And it's fine. All my returns get approved automatically. But I went back and I looked at the listing, and I checked 3 different size chart comparisons, and all of them said that 47 was a size 14. And then we went on the Harry's of London website themselves, and we went into loafers, and you can toggle back between European and American sizing, and they, make 47 and 14 equivalent. Okay. So it's really a false, INAD claim, and I don't really like that. And so I also didn't know how much. It seems like, all right, so we had this return and we had like 2 other returns going on at the same time, and those other ones were for fit, so it wasn't a big deal. But I just feel like whenever I have returns open, my sales slow down quite a bit. So I don't know about that. But anyway, I wasn't sure what to do. They finally sent the shoes back today. They actually did mail them. So I went ahead and I messaged eBay for Business on Facebook, and they got back to me really quickly and basically said, because it's an you know, she looked at the listing and said, you know, oh, and I also had measurements in my listing, right? And so she was like, I see you had, you know, all the sizing in the item specifics and you had it in your descriptions. She's like, so I'm wondering why the buyer didn't question it before they purchased. And so she kind of agreed with me. So basically, though, all they can do at this point is I can report the buyer. When I get the shoes back, I do the refund, but then I can report the buyer for a false, you know, INAD claim. And if the trust and safety department, if they agree with me, I'll get like $6 credit back for the shipping. And if there's any kind of defect or problem, you know, on my account, it could probably be removed. And then she said that it, you know, having a return open does not affect sales or views or anything like that. So they say. So anyway, that's where I'm at with that. So we will see. These sold for $50. I will get them back and I will relist them anyway, but we'll see. You know, my verdict is still out on Harry's of London. It could just be, you know, you have a smaller audience of people who want size 14. So, you know, maybe a smaller size in Harry's of London would actually sell better. So we'll see. Okay, and so here we are at the last choice of the poll on YouTube, and the brand is ANIAN. I'll show you the tag, and it's a wool blend flannel shirt made in Canada. And I had never heard of this before, but one day at Goodwill, there was three of these shirts there that had just gotten put out, and I looked up the brand and I was like, oh wow. So I think I had read or heard somewhere that it's kind of like the Filsons of Canada, and recycled wool. Now the only problem with my shirts is that all the shirts by this company have a, like down here on the tail should be this like big tag with the brand on it. And I believe the buyer, or not the buyer, the previous owner of these three shirts just removed those tags because they're white, you know, they're kind of obvious. So maybe they didn't feel like, you know, being all conspicuous about the brand of shirt they were wearing, who knows. So I went ahead and took an offer for $45 on this shirt. So this was actually the shirt of those three that sold for the most. And I just thought that was interesting. So that's kind of a brand that I'm going to keep an eye out for still. And we had a high price on this because we weren't really sure, you know, which direction or what our real comps were going to be for it. And so we were happy to take that offer. And the other two are still listed. Here is the coffee mug that we featured in our shipping video on coffee mugs, and then also in, you know, just talking about mugs in general. This sold for $24. We sent an offer out, and I think I mentioned in those videos that it sold super, super quickly. Another one of my Jams World shirts sold. This one sold for $51. This was not in that Hawaiian shirt haul and feature video that I gave, because I actually went back to that location and there were more Jams World shirts there, which was unbelievable. And so I ended up buying like 10 more, and I got this one listed and it sold for $51. Travis Matthew, just a pair of Travis Matthew golf shorts, sold for $18.99. And then this was a shirt my husband picks up at the bins. It's Woods is the brand. Here's the thing. Woods Canada. It's basically a mosquito, you know, shielding you from mosquitoes outside. So it has like a mesh hood face covering kind of thing, and that sold for $35, just like it says. And then this was some retail arbitrage. My husband picked these up at, I think, Home Depot or Lowe's, and we took an offer for $19. He's not making a ton of profit on each one. I'll have to ask him. He's sold a few of them so far. I'll have to ask him what his profit is. But this one sold for $19. They had been on clearance. I know that. Okay, this another little animal Jurassic World thing we picked up at the bins, and that sold for $17. And another sale, not that I recommend selling things for $8, but when things have been sitting around a while and your sales are slow, sometimes just getting a sale will kind of kickstart other sales, not always. But we just moved this along for $8. And then this was a nice sale. It's a Russell Athletic. It's a vintage college, so Georgia Tech sweatshirt, and it sold for $38.99 full price. And collegiate wear, vintage collegiate, seems to be having a bit of a moment. And so I picked this up a little while ago, finally got it listed, and it got a lot of attention on Depop and Posh and everything, but sold on eBay for $39. And then these are like a taper candle holder. They can swivel so they can hang on the wall, or you can also put it like tabletop like that. So kind of cool looking. I found 3 kind of bundled together, and you'll see the other 2 sold next week in next week's What Sold. But this one was a slightly different style, and so my husband separated it out. We put it on eBay, and it sold for $35. Nope, $25. Sorry. Took an offer for $25. This has been listed a little while. It's a cabbie, older style, but it's a denim, kind of a stretch denim blazer, and I just took an offer for $20 for that. And then this jacket, I don't honestly remember picking it up. My husband might have grabbed this one, but it was new with tags, and it's, you know, it's got the newer label and logo, and we sold it for $50. So that finished out our eBay week. Going over to Etsy, these next 3 sales on Etsy were from my pattern shop, and they all went to the same buyer. So they paid $27 for this kind of costume sewing pattern. Then they paid $10 for this vintage Pauline Trégère cape pattern. The envelope had a little bit of wear going on, but kind of a cool piece. And then another vintage Vogue pattern from the 70s with a flared dress, sold for $12. Moving over to my husband's Etsy shop. Again, you can find all the links to our shops. I'll double check that all the links are current. But you just click the one Linktree link, and then you can see all the links to the different places that we sell. These were made by Selandia. Normally we see Selandia with stainless, but these were silver plate, so they sold for $15. Now this mug I gave to my husband to list, and normally I don't even, I don't know. Sometimes I check his prices, or either he's usually too high and then I drop them down, I'll drop them down or whatever. But I haven't really been checking his Etsy shop, and I had this mug in my backlog, and I'm like, hey, this probably would do well on your Etsy shop. So I probably would have listed this a little bit higher, more like 25, but he listed it for 15, and so it sold. I don't know how fast it sold, but it sold for $15 plus shipping. And then these were just kind of very rustic. They're copper, and they have the little chains you can hang and put a succulent in it. And they're a very popular kind of Etsy thing, but they were dinged up and distressed, and everything like that, and they were marked Gregorian copper. And the pair of them sold for $24. Then over in the Flatware shop, we sold these 7 teaspoons for $34. The brand is just Lifetime Cutlery, but sometimes just these really ornate pieces seem to do pretty well for us. So those sold for $34. I was happy with that. And then spatulas. When we talk about utensils, I kept saying, don't skip out on the spatulas. This was just a no name. It had no brand. It had a very rustic handle, not in the greatest shape, and there was marks on the stainless, and it still sold for $28. So would have been higher if it had a name, if it was in a little better condition. Moving over to Ruby Lane, I had a few jewelry sales, and this is a brooch. This sold fairly quickly. I just asked $18 for it. It didn't have any kind of maker's mark or anything like that, but it had this really cool molded glass petals, and might have been priced too low, but I've got so much jewelry to list. I'm okay with just letting people get some stuff that they love at the moment. This brooch sold for $10. That was a full price. It was just, there wasn't much to the brooch. It was just kind of a stamped metal and, painted a little bit. So sold that for $10. And then these I picked up, I think there's a vintage, or like an antique mall, vintage mall near me. And one of the vendors has little, like you can pick up clip earrings for like $5 a pair. So I think I picked these up there, and they sold for $26 on a sale that Ruby Lane was running this weekend. So not too bad. So what I went ahead and did is I haven't done my numbers, my totals in a few weeks, but I decided to do it again and just kind of do it at the end. So if you're interested at all in that, I'll pop the numbers up a little bit bigger. So this was March 26th through April 1st. Again, my bookkeeping is very rough. This does not include, I should say these numbers don't have fees taken out or anything like that. So this is my gross sales numbers. It's not after fees or all that kind of stuff. I also charge shipping separately, so these numbers don't include the shipping numbers. Okay, so as you can see, Poshmark hit $600. It did better than eBay this week, which is awesome. And we sold 52 items. Normally we're in the $30-$40 range on like an average week. So more items sold, but the profit was just like about the same. So we sold $165 together on the Etsy shops. Ruby Lane was $54, and then no sales on Depop. Anyway, so the total for the week was $1,341. And, I'm going to try to keep up doing this again. My totals just kind of pop it at the end, so that if you don't care, then we don't waste a lot of time at the beginning talking about it. Okay, so I hope everyone has been having a good reselling week, or last week was good for you. And feel free to leave a comment below about your favorite sale of the week or your best sale. And I always enjoy hearing from you all. So we will see you on the next video. Have a great week.